All right, welcome. This is Secondary Math 2, writing equations from key features. So, we're going to start with a warm-up. This is something you did in Sec 1, Secondary Math 1, with linear equations. So it says write an equation of each line using the given information. Okay, so a line, we want to graph a line. And if you remember, a line is y equals mx plus b. At least that's the form that we'll be using, is y equals mx plus b, okay? Slope-intercept form, all right? And they say we want to come up with a line with a slope of 2 and goes through the point -3, -7, okay? So they give us the slope, well, slope is m, and they also give us a point, which would be an x and a y. All right, so looking at our formula for slope-intercept, the only thing we're missing is b. So we can plug everything in. So y is -7, m is 2, x is -3, and we have plus b. Okay, so the idea is that we will have enough information that we can solve for one of the missing point or missing value, and then we can come up with our final equation. So here, if we did that, we'd still get -7 minus 6 plus b, and then we need to add 6 to both sides. That gives us -1 is equal to b. So now we know that m is 2 and b is -1, so we'll get y equals mx plus b, and that would be our equation. You also learned how to do it with, if I gave you the y-intercept, because this would be our b, this would be our x and our y. So we'd do the same sort of stuff. So we'd do y equals mx plus b, so m, we don't know what m is this time, we know what x is, and we know what b is. Okay, so again, we'd solve for m, subtract 4 from both sides, that gives us -1 is equal to 5m, and then we divide both sides by 5. And we get m is -1/5. And so now we have our m, we have our b, we can do y equals mx plus b. Okay? So that's how we did it in Sec 1. We're going to be doing something very similar, just using quadratic equation instead of a linear equation. Okay, so just a quick reminder of key features. Standard form, intercept form, and vertex form, they all have the growth pattern, which is A. Key feature for standard form could be the y-intercept is C. P and Q, that gives us the x-intercepts, and H and K gives you the vertex. So all the problems we will be using is either intercept form, they'll give you information for the intercept form, or vertex form. So here's an example. It says write an equation that models the given information. So it's basically the same that they said for linear equations, but now it says a quadratic, instead of a line, it says a quadratic with x-intercepts, 2, 0, and -2, 0, that goes through a point 0, 4. Okay, so since they give us the key feature of x-intercepts, you're going to want to be using, you can probably guess, would be intercept form. Okay, if they gave you the vertex, then we'd want to use vertex form. Okay, so the first thing I would suggest is to label the the variables, or the p's and q's and x's and y's. So this could be our p, this could be our q, this would be our x, and this would be our y. Okay, so once we have that, we can refer to the form. I'll rewrite it here, which is y equals a x minus p, x minus q. Okay, we're just going to substitute everything in. So y goes right here. That would give us 4 equals, we don't know what a is, so what we're always going to solve for is a. X is 0, so we'll plug that in. 0 minus p, well, p is 2, and then we'll do 0 again. X is 0 minus q, and q is -2. So negative would give us a positive. okay? And then we'll simplify what's in the parentheses. That's negative 2 times 2. Still have an a, okay? Negative 2 times negative 2 gives you negative 4. And then we need to divide both sides by negative 4. Okay, and we'd end up getting a equals 4 divided by negative 4, which is just negative 1. Now we have our a, we have our p and a q, so now we can write our equation. Y equals a, you just do negative 1 or just negative, either way, and then we'd do x minus p and x minus q, which gives us a positive 2, okay? And that would be your answer. Okay, so pause and see if you can do B by yourself, okay? So this again would be our P, this would be our Q, X, and our Y. Plug everything in, so 4 equals A, X minus P, so it'd be a minus a negative 2, gives you positive. And then we do X minus Q. That gives us 4 and negative 2. And then that gives us negative 8. And then we'll divide both sides by negative 8. So we get A is equal to negative 1/2. Now we have our A, we have our P and a Q. We can fill in our equation. So Y equals negative 1/2 X minus, or X plus 2 and X minus 4. Okay, 2 more examples, but here they're giving us a vertex. So if they give us vertex, then we want to use vertex form. This will be our H and our K for our vertex. This will be our X and our Y. So again, the form for vertex form is Y equals A X minus H squared plus K. So we'll plug all that in. Y is 6. We don't know what A is. That's what we're going to solve for. X is 2. Oops, sorry, I did that wrong. Y is 4. A would have X, which is 2, minus H, which is 1, squared, plus K. Okay, and we simplify. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 squared is 1. So that gives us A times 1, which is just A. Okay, so we'll subtract 6 from both sides. That gives us negative 2 is equal to A. Okay, if you wanted to, you could divide both sides by 1, but that doesn't change anything. Okay, so just A equals negative 2, and then we have A, we have our H and K. We'll plug it into our equation. Y equals negative 2, X minus 1 squared plus 6, and that would be your equation. All right, pause and see if you can do D. Again, this is H and K. This would be our X and our Y. So we'd have Y is equal to A, X minus H, gives us a positive 4, minus, or plus K, which is a negative 8. So then we could have simplify. That gives us 2 squared, which is 4, minus 8. And we'll add 8 to both sides. Gives us 3 equals A times 4. And then we'll divide both sides by 4. And we'll get A equals 3/4. So we have our A, H and K. We'll just write our equation. So Y equals 3/4. And leave your A values as fractions, please. So we'll have X plus 4 squared minus 8. Okay, and a lot of this information is already what you plugged in. That's the way I do it. I just look at that, write it down like that. Okay. All right. Well, if you have any questions, let me know, and we'll see ya.